So the Trump clown show continues as they ramp up their attacks on our justice system, the law, and now education. That's the subject of today's video, and basically, Trump is now attacking Harvard. This is the headlines today. Trump's freeze on $2.2 billion to Harvard provided no proof of wrongdoing. And this is a sort of pattern that we've been seeing. They'll just make allegations, they'll skirt the law, they'll do things unconstitutionally. And then we have this major constitutional crisis like every day. Here's more headlines because it gets even worse. Trump's administration asked IRS to revoke Harvard's tax exempt status. And then you have yet another thing. This is all happening today. DHS, so that'd be Department of Homeland Security, demands records of Harvard's foreign students, threatens enrollment. So now we're threatening Harvard whether or not they can enroll foreign students. And guys, I try my best to tell you everything that's going on these days. I know it's a lot to keep track of. It's hard for me to remember everything, to be perfectly frank. But a lot of this, again, is Trump and Musk basically tearing apart America, attacking our institutions. And education is extremely important. Trump and Musk don't want you to have it. And I want to also talk to the character of who these people are. Someone wrote in the comments saying, hey, Chris, is it fair to talk about marital status? Are you only talking about it with women? No, actually, I talk about it with Musk and Trump quite a bit because I think it speaks to their characters. And these people hang out in the same circles. So for example, and you have to bring this stuff up because like, who are these people who want to tear and destroy America? So Linda McMahon, she's the head of our education, right? She was caught into this crazy scandal. I make no jokes about this one. I can't even say all the stuff that they were involved in. And she was a former professional wrestling CEO. So the professional wrestling CEO is in charge of our education. Her husband, Vince McMahon, you can read the headline. It says WWE accused of allowing exploitation of young boys. I mean, like I said, I can't even repeat all the stuff that is in this stuff, but I just want to say that that's who these people are, and they attack education. It's awful. And I just want to mention this because someone asked, why don't you ever mention the kids or marital status of the guys? I do. It's all the same to me. I show you this stuff to attest to their character because I do think it matters. Musk has 3 divorces, multiple baby mamas, 14 plus kids. Who knows how many are out there? He's a horrible father. I think it matters when you're talking about the character of these people. He's on whatever substances that he's on. That's Musk. Trump has, again, multiple divorces. I think he's got 2 kids with multiple women, right? And just, yes, that's who these people are, right? The Carolyn Levitt person married someone who's like 32 years older. It's like, what the heck? Bondi, she's got a couple divorces, right? And I just want to show you guys, it's all public. It's all on Wikipedia. She's involved with Scientology. Like, what the heck is this stuff? So weird donations and these kind of things, be it with Trump or whatever. You can look all this stuff up. I'm just showing you guys this, and they're always involved, whatever, with the law. I think it matters. I really do. And I think these are all fair game. And I just want to tell you guys, like, the most important thing for me is education. Fairness is ranked right up there. I mean, they're all equally. Freedom of speech, these kind of things, because freedom of speech is actually part of this stuff. Can we just implement law because we don't like what someone says, right? And free speech has a slippery slope, right? Because I don't believe in free speech all day, every day, in the terms of like I can just say anything with no consequences. So, for example, Musk's vision of free speech is, hey, I can falsely advertise and I can lie about my products and no problem, right? That's from Musk's point of view. Or, and say Bondi's point of view, hey, I'm just going to defame someone, make up lies, make up allegations about people. Like we need a system in place to make sure everything is fair. I mean, it's such a complicated topic because it's like these are grade school, elementary kind of conversations. What I mean is like stuff we learn in school about the American system and why it works, or unfortunately in this situation, why it's not working because they're destroying it. So when we hit on the part of, say, attacking Harvard's funding, This is what it is. And I'll read a little bit of it. And again, this is attack on education. It says here the Trump administration's decision Monday to freeze 2.2 billion to Harvard after the school announced it would not yield to demands to change admissions, hiring and government practices. And I guess the Trump people are saying you didn't follow civil rights law. That's what we're getting into. The claims basically is that Harvard is, I guess they're making the claim, is anti-Semitic. That's basically what it boils down to. And how you define anti-Semitic, you open up a whole ball of wax. So I'll just give you some example of how could this be an extremely contentious issue. So if you want to go the extreme route, and let's say Harvard, not just Harvard, but many universities around the country will teach histories and cultures of other groups, right? Be it in hit it directly. Let's say someone says, well, we're not going to teach anything about Palestine history or Palestine culture, poetry, etc. Like we're just not going to allow that on campus because we consider that to be bad. Or another example would be, and this relates to, say, the situation in Florida, because that's where Trump gets a lot of his people. DeSantis is down there. They're like, hey, if we teach American history and it makes white people uncomfortable, then we shouldn't teach it because we don't want to make anyone uncomfortable. And the examples they'll be like is like, hey, we have to show that when we have slavery in the USA, that everyone was happy and it was a great time, and white people shouldn't feel bad about that. And it's like it's a really weird conversation. They twist history and talking about the Trump people. And my goal, be it with education in general, is just tell you what happened, tell you what's going on, present facts. We can have differences of opinion. That's fine. I don't just make random stuff up. And sometimes, guys, history isn't very nice. Sometimes we don't feel good about history. I'll give you an example. If you don't know, I'm from Vietnam, and I lost my family. There were a lot of Vietnamese killed. There were a lot of Americans killed in the Vietnam War. It's ugly all around. Anything with war is ugly all around. And none of us should feel good about that kind of thing. I don't know what to say. Like, teaching history isn't about feeling good. It's about teaching what happened. And try to learn as much as you can to not repeat the mistakes of the past. These are just, it's such frustrating things. It's like how to talk about this stuff, because the other problem that we have with any of these topics is oftentimes what you'll see on the internet, whatever, is people aren't having conversations in good faith, right? A good faith conversation is, hey, I want to hear your opinion. You're going to listen to mine. I'm not just going to make random stuff up, and we'll have a reasonable conversation about these things. Maybe we disagree, maybe we don't. I don't know, but I'm going to have a good faith and like have a real conversation and listen to your points. I was a professor for about 10 years. I bring this up because it's part of education is, students would ask me a gamut of questions, because I teach international relations, I teach politics, right? I teach film and TV, which relates to how to portray and how to communicate complex ideas. I mention that because students will ask the gamut of questions, all kinds of stuff. And oftentimes, students they don't know that they're a student, they're learning. And so, sometimes they might ask something that might be perceived as being offensive, because people can ask all kinds of stuff, right? And I don't want to, just list off like the most offensive stuff possible, but I'll just say this: like sometimes people don't know they're being offensive, or they say something incorrectly, right? And what do I mean by incorrectly? Okay, I'll give it a clear one. So, what if someone, granddaddy, taught their grandkids that you have to hate a certain kind of people, or that a certain kind of religion is always bad, right? That kind of stuff. And it's like, how do you address that? Because this is just how it is. There are biases and bigotry in the USA that's unfortunately ever present. It's hard to get rid of that kind of stuff, and some people don't even realize that they have said things. And for me personally, when I was younger, sure, I was way more ignorant when I was young, 100%. I did not have much exposure to other groups of peoples, and I did not know much about the world. And as I grew up, I started to learn more about the world, different cultures, different religions, different groups of people. I know I mentioned this stuff, and I know I'm getting off on tangents, but this whole attack on education is really, really bad. And then you have this: Trump's administration asks the IRS to revoke Harvard's tax exempt status. This could have far reaching implications. The first thing I thought of was like, okay, are we going to start going after churches that we don't like? Like, okay, so let's say that the Trump administration decides, oh, well, I just don't like that particular type of church, right? And it could be any number, right? It could be any number of types of things. And then the way the Trump people would think is like, well, it's okay to go after, those churches I don't like. But if you come to my church, then I get upset. But this is the part of fairness, is that we need to treat all of these things fairly, right? One attack on one type of church is attack on all churches. Attack on one type of university, attack on all universities. Do you guys see what I'm saying here? And you just want to apply the law fairly. I was reading this, and this is why I thought about it. It says tax exempt status is available to charitable, religious, and educational organizations, as well as social welfare groups, but the organizations must adhere to tax laws that prohibit them from engaging in certain political activity. There is no proof that Harvard has violated any of those guardrails, experts say. So it's like, because this political activity thing, if that's, we're going to, eliminate people's tax exempt status, I mean, you open a whole ball of wax of what then we're going to define as meaning political activity. So these kind of cases, and again, any of this type of stuff, if we're talking about the makeup of U.S. society and the law, whatever we do, right, do this fairly, and understand the far reaching implications of all these things, because it doesn't mean, and this is part of the understand the Constitution, it is a living document. Things can change in the Constitution, sure. I'll give you a simple example, like the way you interpret the Second Amendment. That's a really good one. Like, does everyone in the USA need to, have grenades and, and machine guns and that kind of stuff, fully automatic weapons? I may have different opinions than you. My opinion is no. I don't think the regular person needs to have, that kind of ordinance or whatever. But some people disagree with me, and like, this is where I'm like, oh my God, are we insane here? But this is part of learning to live in a democracy, right? The other issue, as well as thinking about this one, is, a big part of the USA is protection of minority, right? Just because the majority, so let's say, for example, because Trump these days, they've been using a lot of polling data. Let's say the majority of the people think, for example, in the past, white kids and black kids, or I could say white kids and kids of color, should not go to school together, right? That would be, everyone believes it, right? The majority believes it, but like, what if the majority is wrong on something, right? This is, or the majority is, say, for example, is like, oh well, we all believe a certain kind of religion is the best religion. So just think about the kind of implications that has. Well, gee, then I guess if you're not as a more popular religion, then suddenly then you're going to lose all your tax exempt status, etc. I know this whole thing is so stressful and frustrating, everything that's going on. I'll cover a different topic after this, but I wanted to get some things off my chest about fairness, because when people ask me about these things, I try my best, guys, every day. And I, sometimes because I'm completely, and something that people asked me before, I'm completely unscripted. I literally just read the news and I tell you my feelings on this stuff. You go to other channels, they're basically actors. Everything's scripted. They'll overplay stuff, not talk like an actual human, and be like, "Hey guys, up the," it's like, and that's stressful. And I give you a simple example, how I stay young, because people often ask me. I write about this kind of stuff in my book. It's called Positive Angle. I mentioned this is, learn from other people, read, and stay true to yourself, and go with, how should I to say it? Go with the thought that you want to better yourself at all times. Always be learning, always be reaching out to other people, and try your best to be a good person. That's a one way to say it. Not everyone out there is like that. They, a lot of people have other motives, in the situation of Trump and Musk, that their goals is really just to enrich themselves. Maybe some people think that's the pursuit of being a good person. I guess that's up to you. I don't share those views. I don't think the pursuit of wealth is the most important thing in the world. And I think looking out for your neighbors, and treating people with respect is good things. It's like, what are we even talking about anymore? I just feel like the Trump people are so morally inept. It's disconcerting, and it's hard to talk about these things because we're dealing with so many issues all at the same time. But I will say this: the education is so key to making our society better and pushing us forward. So evidently, Trump MS, that's their number one goal, is to destroy education at the moment. Anyway, I that's my thoughts on this. I want to hear yours, and I'll catch you on the next video.